because a lot of the other kind of competitors in the space, Kajabi and Skool, they had prioritized the creator's ability to customize the platform and specific URLs and domains and almost kind of a white label feel. Whereas your bet was really the opposite, which was to prioritize user engagement and ultimately create a network effect. So obviously that bet paid off, but I'm curious if you can think back to that time. How did you kind of come to the conclusion that was the right bet to make, and how were you thinking about that decision-making process?
Sure. So I've used the internet a lot since pre-Google, right? So I've like experienced the evolution of all of these different things. And it's always just been super interesting to me, like how things evolve. And I used to use forums a lot. Like that was where I used to hang out. But then they got kind of killed and replaced by Facebook groups.
Right.
And I found that very interesting. And I would ask like, why? And I realized, oh, it's because one profile, one search, one login, one domain to remember, right? Everything's there. And so for the end user, it's simple, right? Because people have more than one interest, and you can have them together. But the other one was like the distribution. So, you know, you build your own forum and you need distribution. Facebook groups also provided that, right? So there's serious advantages to networks because like creators of things need distribution and users of things like convenience, right? And also users of things aren't one-dimensional, right? Like they have multiple interests and their interests also change over time. And so like it fits well with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so how did you know that it's obviously you knew there was an advantage to a network effect. What sort of, because everybody in the industry was kind of going that way in terms of prioritizing, making a pretty, a pretty interface that they could customize, etc. Was there something that you saw?
Are you talking about like the old web, which is like, I don't know, like a Kajabi kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
So what are you asking?
Well, so because I'm curious, is there anything beyond just the fact that you wanted to create a network effect that made you take that strategic bet? Because you were Skool's really the only platform that went against the grain compared to, let's say, the Skools, Kajabis, etc. True.
Well, I mean, there's also it's hard to out Kajabi, right? So they're also much further ahead, and so that would be a terrible competition too, by the way. But also I was a user of Kajabi and I didn't need 90% of the stuff in there, right? And I also found it quite confusing, and so I thought it was more of a negative than a positive. And then I tried to boil it down to the most simple thing. And I was like, people want engagement. I'm pretty sure people want engagement. People also want growth, right? And so I was like, whatever I can do to make it grow and be engaged, that's better. And I realized that less things, less customization, less white labeling, less of basically that led to more engagement and more growth, which is ultimately what people wanted, even though they didn't say that that's what they wanted. They said what they wanted was that.
Yeah.
So that's where the art of it comes in, right? It's like that overdone saying from Henry Ford, if I'd asked the people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Well, the game was never to just ship a lot of stuff fast. That can lead to the end. Right? We could quickly end ourselves if we just went on a rampage of shipping random shit. Every time you add, you make it more complicated, and you can also make it worse, right? It's also hard to take away once you've added, right? Because once people start using it, right, it becomes very hard, and you can kind of become trapped. So just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. We still have that philosophy and approach. And right now, I know what people want isn't different features. It's, again, growth, engagement, right?
Yeah.
Who wakes up and thinks, I want a feature? I'm pretty sure no one. Maybe some weirdos, but normal people don't want features. they want like actual growth or engagement, or they want it to work.
Right.
You know,
they want more members.
Yeah, and they want to make money, and they want their members to show up and get value. Yeah.
So when you think about, because obviously you're in the community and you're trying to help them achieve that goal, and there could be a lot of features that you could add, et cetera. And there's some, I'm sure, that are good ideas, and some stuff, I mean, obviously you got to ship some stuff. So when you have all the things that you think, let's say you box into, are a good idea, how exactly with the engineers are you prioritizing what needs to come first versus, okay, that's maybe a good idea, but that's going to be next year, the year after, et cetera?
Yeah. Well, it's quite simple because there's a billion things, there's like infinite things we could do.
Right.
Right? But there's only like a few things we can do now. Right? And so it's always about, it's not about yes or no, it's about prioritization. So like, what are the most important things right now? That's all you really need to do. Right? Because once you've done those, everything changes again. Not everything, but a lot changes, right? And so it's pointless to try to be like, that's a good idea, we'll schedule it in for this time. And we don't do that. Like, our roadmap, in terms of like detail, is only 30 days out. Like, because things can change a lot in 30 days, right? Then we have like a list of vaguer ideas that we want to do, and those are always kind of moving in terms of priority. But in terms of like actual roadmap and what we know what we're going to do, it's not that far out into the future. That makes things a lot, like, that's the only way to deal. I was running one of these businesses and I didn't really like it. I didn't like what I had to do to make it work. I also, nothing was really inspiring me that much. Like, I wasn't like browsing around being like, this is so awesome. Like, a lot of it looked like the same. And it wasn't like very fun. That was just my experience of it, right? And I thought it was extremely inefficient. If you think about like this industry, it's like highly fragmented, and most of the time is spent marketing, right?
Yeah.
So that showed me that it was the fragmentation is why everyone spends so much time marketing, by the way.
What do you mean by that?
So there's no place where you can just see like where the best shit is.
Yes.
It's all like all over the place, right?
Right.
All disconnected all over the internet, and people use all of these proxies to determine if something's good or not. Like, oh, the dude's got a Lambo, must be good.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's like the signals aren't reliable.
Yeah, it's a complete minefield. And actually, the most efficient tactic has been not to be good at what you do, but actually just to be famous, which shows me that it's completely kind of corrupt.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, exactly.
And then because it's all fragmented and everything, people have to spend all their time and money like marketing, not looking after their people or working on their craft, unless their craft is marketing. Yeah. So I was like, there's got to be a better way to rearrange this, right? Like, I thought a lot like, what if there was an Airbnb kind of thing for this, right? Because to make money in info, how it has been, when you think about all the little things you need to like figure out, it's insane. So like, if you've got a website, if you've got a funnel, if you've got Facebook tracking pixel, if you've got like a CRM, an email system, Zapier, then you need like a checkout, payment processor, then analytics, like how are you supposed to, but when you really think about it, someone invented a concept. Like, what even is time? It's not there. It isn't something. It's a concept, right? Time. But everyone's using it, and and then to make it work, they have to invent like time zones and daylight savings and all kinds of other things. But it's just a concept, right? And these concepts like layer on top of each other. Even like language is conceptual, math, all of these things. But like even the financial system is again, concepts like currencies, exchange rates, all of this, and global trade. And when you realize that, and when you realize it was just made by like some people in a room, it's kind of interesting. I don't think most people realize that these are just things made by some people. And so when I realized that, I was like, whoa, this is similar to like what I'm doing, but obviously not the same. And some of the problems they were trying to solve were kind of the same. The most interesting thing was the exchange rates. Like, how do you consolidate all of that together, right? Especially with what we do, which is subscription. Because if it's one time, it's simple. You do a live FX quote, boom, done. But when it's subscription, what happens the second month? Because the creator expects the same amount, the member expects to pay the same. But these things are moving all the time.
That is wild. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to like share all of my
how you're overcoming it, right?
Because this is just not relevant to so many people.
Well, I think it's very interesting.
It's interesting for sure, but also just not super relevant to understand. But that problem has fascinated me for like a couple years. It's also why we haven't touched currencies, because I haven't known how to best approach it. And that's what they were trying to figure out then, right? And their solution was to peg it